So I'd like to call this meeting to order. And before we begin, we will acknowledge that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Williams and Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis peoples on this land and show respect to them today. We acknowledge our neighbors, the Wattamohawks and the First Nations of Moose Deer, Shawniga, Wasauksing, Magnetawan, Henley Inlet, Nipissing, and the Dokies. We have much to learn about the stewardship of our planet to ensure that the decisions we make today will take into consideration the future of our children and that of our children's children. We begin our learning journey today. And as settlers, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet here. And we thank all of the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And I will call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda with an addendum that was circulated a little earlier today. Everybody's okay? And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof?
I have one, Mayor, but unfortunately, I've given the piece. I have one, but I've given the piece of paper to the clerk. I didn't bring a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
To
Item,
7C, I believe it is. the
yes.
small
Okay,
sector 51 policy.
Yeah,
okay. Thank you
thank
for
you.
declaring.
Yes,
And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on September 18th, 2023 as circulated. Could I have a motion? Ken and Mario. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matter. Zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2023-0018-H for Claridge. Could I have a motion? Gail, Terry. All in favor? Thank you. That's me?
Yes.
Council will now hold a public meeting for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment application. In accordance with the Planning Act, council will consider all matters placed before it before passing a zoning bylaw. Anyone wishing to receive notice of the passing of a zoning bylaw amendment and who has not submitted such a request in writing should provide your full name and address to the clerk. No one other than the prescribed persons may appeal an application under the provisions of the Planning Act. If they do not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin prior to the decision of council, then the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2023-0018 H for Claridge is to provide an exception to the rural residential zone. The application requires relief from the bylaw to permit a standalone secondary dwelling unit that does not satisfy the zoning provisions. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on August 31st, 2023. Notice was therefore considered right in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
Correspondence in support of the application has been received from the Ministry of Transportation, Ontario.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application? If so, could you move to the podium? Are you Mr. Claridge? Yeah, just push the little button on the microphone and the people on can hear you that are on Zoom.
Yes, my name is Douglas Claridge. I'm one of the applicants on this application.
Do you want to explain anything about it? I think it's pretty clear in the staff report.
It is fairly straightforward. Just here to address any concerns or answer any questions that anyone may have.
And is there anyone registered to speak via electronic participation?
Holly Chu, the applicant, and Lori Young of JL Young Design, the agent, have registered to speak and both are present via Zoom.
They're on Zoom.
Yeah.
Miss Chu and Miss Young, would you like to turn on your cameras?
I'm unmuted. I don't know if I have my camera.
Do
There
you
we
have
go.
anything?
I
Do you
do.
want to speak to the application?
I'm the architectural designer hired by this couple and just am here to answer any questions as well.
Are there any questions from council? I see none. So thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Did you have a question? No. Council will now close the public meeting and reconvene in the regular meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matter is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. And we were discussing the zoning bylaw amendment application R 2023-0018 for H for Claridge. Can I have a motion to Terry? And a seconder? All in favor? And now I have a motion that bylaw number 2023-108, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-007-07000, application number R 2023-0018 for H for Claridge and Chu is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Motion, please, Terry and Councillor Fellner. All in favor? Thank you. So that has been passed unanimously. So enjoy your property and your new bill. Council will now consider the following road allowance applications. Road allowance application number RAS 2022-0016-F for Blair on Otter Lake, bylaw number 2023-098, and Shore Road allowance application number RAS 2023-0002-H for West Garth on Turtle Lake, bylaw number 2023-099. Have any written objections been received related to these applications?
No written objections have been received.
Is there anyone present? And I see that there is not. Has anyone registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to these applications.
And I believe if we have any questions, we have Lauren on the line. Do you want to explain the first one for Blair?
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. The owner at 57 Joseph Malkoff Trail is looking to purchase their shore allowance abutting their property. This one's on
For
Otter
$29 one day of.
I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Are there any questions for Lauren? Nope.
Jason
Okay,
just asked, but I
so
don't know.
Michelle, can you turn off your microphone, please?
Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks. I have a motion that bylaw number 2023-098, being a bylaw to close, stop up and sell a portion of the original Shore Road allowance, application number RAS 2022-0016-F for Blair is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion? Councillor Adams and a seconder. All in favor? Thank you. So that is passed. And Lauren, do you want to explain the one on Turtle Lake?
Thanks, Your Worship. This one is on Turtle Lake. The owner at 65 Marlin Drive is just looking to purchase their shore allowance in front of their property. This one's pretty straightforward, but I'm here if council has any questions.
Any questions? Nope. So I have a motion that bylaw number 2023-099, being a bylaw to close, stop up and sell a portion of the original shore road allowance, application number RAS 2023-0002-H for West Garth is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion? Getty and Brzezinski. All in favor? Thank you, and that is passed. So we move on to staff reports. The first one is, sorry. I first have motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for the October 2nd, 2023 meeting of council. Could I have a motion to that effect? Thank you. And a seconder. All in favor? Thank you. So the first one is the proposed amendments to fees and charges for various services. And I believe we have Michelle online to take us through that.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Sorry if there is a delay. These are the proposed fees and charges from the directors. There's 3 departments that are proposing to increase fees starting January 1st. There's the planning department that has done a comparison with a number of the local municipalities. There's the cemeteries fees. One is to do with the license that is set by the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, and the other is for our open and close, which has been brought in-house in the last year. And the third is the annual increase for the community services. If council would recall, last year they approved an annual increase of 1% for all rental fees. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Michelle or concerning any of the fees as recommended in the agenda package? Oh, okay. Do we need a resolution or that's just direction to staff? Go ahead.
Yes, that staff will take that direction. Now we prepare the bylaws and the notice, and that'll come back.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to item B. We asked Tom to explain the service level change request that's here.
Hi, good afternoon. So it's I did a pretty high level overview of just basic maintenance needs in the public works department. And it's come to just bare minimum. We identified that we're about 8 people short in terms of just like ditching, traffic control, keeping everyone safe on the road. So today I'm proposing 2 additional staff along with creating the contract positions into full-time. With that, we'll need another pickup truck in the mix as well. I'm just looking for some endorsements on this this request.
Okay, go ahead, Jason.
Just to thank you, Your Worship, members of council, just to build on sort of some of the comments that Tom just made. I worked with Tom earlier in the year earlier last year, actually, to work through an exercise of defining the levels of service that we offer and the resource requirements for each of those levels of service. As council will recall, this was presented last year during the budget process, but was not recommended to be advanced last year because it was, we were prioritizing at the time. As Tom noted, that exercise of resource allocation to the service levels has identified 8 full-time equivalents as the gap between where we are and where we need to be if we're going to deliver those levels of service. And of course, we're proposing a phased-in approach because obviously that's a significant undertaking to add 8 staff. So this represents the first of a series of phases that will be presented over the next number of years through the budget cycles. But Tom and Michelle and the rest of the team have done a great job of figuring out what the needs are, and how we can best address them through a phased-in approach.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Tom or our Jason? Go ahead.
Ted over there. I don't know whether it's a question, but I think that the staffing levels relative to public works are probably our most important for customer satisfaction. But we are in a very difficult budget year and we do have a lot of expenditures. So I'd like to put forward two motions, I guess. One being that we defer both of the service level changes presented for both public works and communications until after council has received a complete draft budget for the year 2024. And then a second motion that all of the costs and fees associated to these service level changes presented for public works and communications be included in the complete draft budget to be presented to council for the year 2024.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
if that, those are two motions? Or one at a time?
At this point, so I believe the report is only recommending the public works one, but
The communications is not on the table.
so you don't have a motion on the table yet.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll take Councillor Fellner's comment and then our Chief Administrative Officer.
So I don't see the reason to defer this. I don't see any reason why the two positions can't be included as a separate line item in the draft budget. And then consider the draft budget as long as that's identified in the cost of it. Makes no real sense to defer till after we see a draft budget and then decide whether to put it in or not. I suggest instead of putting your motions on the table to just give staff a direction to include the two positions in the draft budget, but to identify them as those two positions separate to the rest of the budget. Then you can look at the numbers and decide whether you want to include them or not.
Thank you. And the clerk is telling me we first have to get this motion on the table before we're supposed to be discussing it. So let me get this on the table and then so we have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the Public Works Service Level Change proposal attached to Schedule A to this resolution and direct staff to include the budget impact in the 2024 draft budget. So could I have a motion, Councillor Finson, and a seconder, Councillor Fellner? Okay, and I believe our Chief Administrative Officer would now like to speak to it.
Thank you, Worship. I won't take long here, but I think the resolution you just put on the table speaks to providing these included in the draft budget for council consideration. I think it was already clarified that we are not actually recommending the communications position move forward. We're just identifying that it's an area that we've identified for future consideration. But this will be highlighted, to Councillor Fellner's point, in the draft of the budget for council consideration in November. Council gave us some direction a few meetings ago about a target rate. We're working towards that with this inclusion in it. But we certainly have tons of work yet to do to finalize that budget. But in this early stages, we need some direction on whether council wants to see this or not. If there is a desire to see it included, we will include it. If you do not want to see it included, then provide us with that direction and we're happy to eliminate them from our budget work. But the way the resolution is presented is that what we're seeking is, do you want to see the service level change in public works? If you do, we'll work to include it in the budget. If we can't make it work, we'll identify that when we present the budget. If we can make it work, we'll identify that in the budget as well.
Thank you, Councillor Getty.
And I understand. Sorry. I feel like Ted again. Sorry, Councillor Fellner. I appreciate what you're saying and Jason as well. And I'm not minimizing the importance of the positions within public works. I think that by deferring it, and then the second motion that I've put forward that all costs and fees associated to the service level changes presented for Public Works be included in the complete draft budget to be presented to council for the year 2024, is endorsing that being included in the budget process. But the numbers that were presented in the report indicate ballpark wages don't include, from what I see, the 33% or 30% plus for pension and benefits that would be associated to it, and any other equipment charges that may or may not be included. So I will put forward to defer this report until after the draft budget is presented, and I would like to put forward a second motion, that being all of the costs and fees associated with these service level changes presented for Public Works be included in the complete draft budget to be presented to council for the year 2024.
Okay, so we have Councillor Bazinski, okay, and
No, I'd just like to say I'll second that those motions. That's not to give anyone the wrong idea, and in case staff are listening, I think those positions are critical. All I want to do is I would like to see them evaluated along with all of the other things that are going to be in the budgets, because last year I felt somewhat that we had approved portions of the budget, and then when it came down to the final budget discussion, we couldn't really do anything because we had approved it in principle. So I agree. I'd like to see the complete budget, staffing, capital, and other all together so that we can then make some trade-offs, because clearly our budget is going to be more than what we can withstand given the recommendation of the Finance Committee. So, you know, we had a huge increase last year, and we'd like to keep the increase below that for this year. So I think looking at the budget in its entirety is worthwhile. Thank you.
okay, Councillor Adams,
There's two on there that are part-time too, right? And is Tom still there?
Tom's listening.
How long has these contracts been working for the township, Tom?
Currently, they are year contracts. There's one person right now that has been with us for 2.5 years under contract. And the second person has been with us since May, March or May, starts with an M.
To me, if they're already being paid out of this budget, the increase, I don't know, Michelle may correct me, the increase shouldn't be a lot more to pump them up to the full-time wage.
I believe that's correct.
I'm not going against the other guys, but I feel those two guys, because they're under contract, and if they're good employees, that they should get the full-time positions. And then the other two, yes, be deferred till, well, for the next budget. Anyway, I think these two should get the jobs, and I'm sure Tom needs them for the winter.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bazinski,
I'm certainly not saying we won't pass it at all. I just would like to look at it in the entirety of the whole budget process. There's no question, I've talked to some of the other councillors, and in some of our wards, the roads clearly have not been kept up to standard the way they have in the past. So that it might be partly due to not having enough staff. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, the ratepayers of the township, the things that they see are roads and waste management first and foremost for their taxes. And I'd like to see the roads brought up to a little better standard than they were. Like, it shouldn't take 2 months to have a road graded after a complaint is put in. So I fully expect we're going to probably approve all of that request. It's just that then I want to see what we may not approve with the rest of the budget. If we commit today, then it limits our ability to look at what else we can do. Thank you.
I just want to remind people that we as council set a target of a 4% tax increase, and I believe that is what staff will work towards unless we hear differently. These are the building blocks to make that budget, that we did approve the schedule of what would come to us at what point. And I think as long as we highlight these two positions, as Councillor Fellner has indicated, approving them does not mean that you can't take them out on December 18th when we see the entire budget, but that's just clarification. Councillor Finson.
Okay, what I'm going to say is I'm a little confused. I thought that's how the process worked. I thought we'd already approved to bring these things forward, and I thought we approved things that were in the draft budget. When it's in there, you say yes or no or whatever. I'm confused. Why would I defer something that I'm going to make a decision on at that time? I mean, you're supposed to read them and you're supposed to see what's in there, and then we approve them as we go along. That's what I thought the process was.
And Councillor Collins.
I'm having difficulty with the figures. Okay. And Michelle's still there. So you're saying, well, first of all, you're saying convert staff to full-time, 30 grand. That's 15,000 each. That is the part-time staff converting over, or
Yes.
like
So
there's two part-time.
right now in Public Works, we have 2 seasonal staff and they work full-time. And to convert them from seasonal to permanent, the incremental cost is approximately 30,000. And that's mainly to do with benefits.
With, I'm sorry, with what?
Benefits.
Benefits. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's the question. Okay. So then it has 2 new full-time staff. Is that the other 2?
Yes.
So that's equaling 4, correct?
So the 2 seasonal staff are currently in the complement. What Tom is proposing is taking them from seasonal to permanent full-time with wages and benefits,
Right.
and then adding 2 full-time staff to the complement.
Okay. And this new the 2 new full-time staff, you've got 100K. So that's 50K each, correct?
That's because they're starting in, the proposal is for them to start in 2024 on June 1st.
Okay.
The full year cost for them would currently be about 170,000.
So there's 70 grand missing in total.
Because
figures.
because of them starting partway through the year.
That's what I need. So there's 70,000 actually missing and not on paper.
Thank you, your worship. On page 86 of your agenda package in the actual service level change proposal, it identifies the 2024 operating impacts, and then it identifies the full year impact.
What, I'm sorry, what page?
Page 86 of your agenda package.
Yeah, just a sec.
The graph
No,
there.
86, I'm right here right now.
The graph there speaks to the full year operating impacts because the proposal suggests a mid-year start. It's not a full year operating impact in 2024. So it identifies the full year operating impact for future years in that graph there under financial impacts.
Councillor Fellner.
So Tom, the strategy then, pardon me, Tom, sorry about that. Strategy then is you want to get away from contract positions? Is that what I'm reading out of this?
Through your worship, yes. With the current market of availability and the vast it's tricky to hire contract these days. We've been lucky with 2 of the fellas working for us right now. They're great. Again, one's been 2.5 years, the other one's 6 months, and both are great assets to Seguin. And would really like to, secure their spot and, grow the department as well. And most people are really hesitant. We've lost, I think, of some quality prospects in the past that they turned down the job because they were contract positions. So we're hoping to retain staff for the long haul.
So then I guess my second question is historically, the head count presently is where in comparison to, let's say, the head count in Public Works 5 years ago?
No change.
No change. So we've been maintaining the status quo, right? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and just to snowball off that, we've added a lot of roads to our network. We've started to undertake sidewalk plowing, and there's some potentials like new MZO coming up online soon. The Blue Lakes Salmon Lake subdivision. That's over 2 kilometers worth of plowing we have to do. So we just want to try and get ahead of this the best we can if it deems suitable.
Right. So I did just trying to get some clarity here from a comment that was made at the table earlier, but so the comment was made that currently Public Works is just doing maintenance of the roads. Is that correct? Maintenance of plowing?
Yes. Now here's another kind of conduit into the conversation is staff work tirelessly through the winters, don't take a lot of vacation. Summers come, there's a lot of vacation, meaning we don't have a lot of staff to even do basic maintenance work. So this allows, a little bit more vacation in the winters, allows a little more staff in the summers. It's a good, healthy culture we're trying to endorse here and trying to bring in, so we're not so short staff come summertime. And in August we had at days 3 people working at once, so it's tough. It was tough.
So by bringing the contract people on full-time, adding 2 more full-time people is going to decrease the working hours per staff during the winter months, right?
That is hopefully our intent. Yes.
So the takeaway would be less accrued vacation time, which would translate into more employee hours being able to spend maintaining roads and what we're. So that's the win, right? Is that the win?
That would be the win. That would be the tip of the iceberg of the whole picture, I think.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Adams.
Tom, the one that's been working for 2.5 years. Has he worked 2.5 years without a break in there?
There's been maybe a week break in between his contracts.
Because isn't the H&R manual say that after 2 years, I don't know if that's still in there, they have to be offered a position if there's no break in employment?
I'm not aware of that.
Or is that taken out? Michelle would know.
Yeah, no, there's been breaks, Councillor Adams, in
Okay.
between the individual contracts. There's summer contracts and winter contracts.
Okay.
Councillor Bazinski.
Tom, you mentioned needing an extra half ton. Would we need another plow or other equipment if we have 4 more bodies on?
We'll need the plow truck, so I have included in that 125,000 to equip it with a just our 9-foot plow on the front of that half ton. I have kind of a 10-year working plan I'm still working through on, additional needs in terms of, if or a a big plow truck, like a tandem plow truck. So there are some things in the future that we'll be requesting to include into the public works fleet.
Just a follow up to that then, is that part of your roads plan? Like, will there be equipment requirements? I know you've done, you've got this study that you've had for a while, and hopefully we're going to see it fairly shortly, but does it include also capital costs for not just for roads, but for equipment too?
No, so that's strictly for capital upgrades. So basically, we'll get a detailed design done, and then whatever job number one is we have to do for a capital improvement, that's the priority list of what's the worst road we have and go all the way down. And that's for capital infrastructure improvements, not for assets such as fleet or staff.
Okay, Councillor Getty and then Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Part of my, and again, Tom, it's been echoed, I think, by everybody here. It's not a matter of not supporting these positions, seeing them in totality of the budget process. Michelle, while we have you, what are the tax implications of $100,000 increase for the 2 full-time positions? I think, what does that work out on a percentage basis?
Yeah, a 1% tax rate increase, municipal tax rate increase in 2024 amounts to approximately $143,000. So $100,000 would be 0.7% tax rate increase.
So that means that 170,000 would be approximately 1.5%.
About 1.2, yes.
1.2. So
yeah,
the problem I have with sliding something or bringing a position in mid-year is that we're actually increasing the annual operating cost more than what the budgeted increase is going to be for 2024. And that's why I'd like to see it all in the draft budget. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. So then what I'm getting at, Tom, is that your actual road budget is coming in 2 parts. One, maintenance or service level or maintenance, and 1, capital roads. Is that right? That's what I'm getting?
Sorry, I don't think I follow.
Well, the maintenance of the road, and this has been a long time coming, because I think I was told this from the very beginning. This would be a change where the municipal staff will just be maintaining the roads, and then you'll be RFPing or tendering out capital roads projects in the future. Is that correct?
That's correct. There may be some in-house maintenance stuff that we can do, ditching programs here or there, but right now we don't even have the staff to do traffic control to initiate those ditching projects.
Okay, I'm going to ask the CAO to respond to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. What you'll see in this budget, and what we started the transition over the last year or so around, was we have 2 budgets. We have an operating budget, which is the ongoing operating expenses to run the municipality. And then we have the capital budget, which is that one-time expenditure that repairs, replaces an asset. You'll see when we're targeting having the consultant present the roads needs study at the next meeting of council. You'll see a forecast of capital needs over the next 5, 10 years, and et cetera. These dollars are ongoing operating dollars associated with maintaining our roadway network. So there's definitely 2 distinct different lines, where I think Councillor Collins' point was, in the past, those lines have been a little blurred, where capital dollars and operating dollars were being mixed to make sure that certain things were being dealt with, being managed. And we've clearly defined the scope of capital and we've clearly defined the scope of operating in the Public Works Department, and this budget will reflect that. So I hope that provides some clarity for Councillor Collins' question. The other thing I'll suggest is with the request to defer, the request to where this discussion started, there's two ways we can present this budget. We can present the budget where, and I'm just, to be fair, I'm making numbers up here, where we have a target of 4%. We can present you a 4% budget that includes this, or we can present a 3 or a 2.75% budget that doesn't include this, and then you can direct it to be included. Frankly, it's one and the same to us. We can prepare a budget however you want to see it. What the process we're working through here is that was endorsed by council when we put the budget schedule in front of you. This is something the municipality's done for quite some time. But again, we're working a budget here that it doesn't matter if it's included or excluded, and council can direct it at that time. You can direct it to be included or you can direct it to be removed. So we're happy to work through whatever process makes sense for council. The other thing I'll add is this isn't the first time council's seen a budget where we outline the in this case, the 2024 financial impacts, and then highlight what the future full year impacts are. That is identified
86.
Page 86 of the budget. I think I referenced earlier, or 86 of the council package. I apologize. That's something we've done in the past as well, where, to manage a tough budget, we have to make some decisions around, we don't want to unnecessarily create surplus and take tax dollars that we don't need. So in this case, in 2024, we're suggesting we need 100 of the full impact of 170. The additional will be included in the 2025 budget when it reaches its full annual operating impact. So again, we're welcome to any feedback from council on how you'd like to see the budget presented. Primarily, I think with respect to this is whether or not you want to see a budget without it presented, and then an appendices that says, here you could add this, or a budget with this where you could say we want that line removed.
Okay, Councillor Bazinski, last comment on this, and then, okay, and Councillor Collins.
Yes, because
Let's-
he kind of like segued into my.
Okay, but let's do Councillor
Okay,
Bazinski and then Councillor Collins, and then we're going to call a vote.
I think what we would, what we'd like to see is obviously a budget that tries to work within the recommendations of the Finance Committee. And secondly, setting priorities and maintenance of the roads and the waste system, to be honest, has to be pretty much number one priority, because that's what people see. And every time someone phones me about how much tax they pay, they talk about the state of the roads. So that's critical to me. I just want, because, responding to Gail's question, I didn't feel in the last budget process that I had much flexibility to make trade-offs within the budget, because we had improved in principle the different components of the budget. I want to see the whole thing together so we can look at it and say, okay, you weren't able to make it under 4%. You're up at 6%. What are we going to do for a trade-off? That's all I want to be able to do, is look at everything: salaries, capital, and operating all together. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. To Councillor Bazinski's point, I wanted to just highlight that this service level change is being recommended because when we asked council, what are your priorities? You said the maintenance of the roads is your number one priority. That was overwhelmingly the response from council, was take care of our roads, please. And so that's why this has been included. It's frankly why the communications one has been deferred to a future year. And I will highlight that different than last year, and in fairness, for last year's process, we had a brand new council that was sworn in earlier in mid-November or December, had the first meeting in December, and we had to work through a budget. We didn't want to, steamroll it through. What we wanted to do is provide it to you in bite-sized chunks, if you will. That changes this year. These are some inputs into the budget process that you're receiving here today. But in November, we will present to you the entire budget in one shot, one binder, operating capital, all the user fees, everything, all these inputs that we're working through today will be presented to you in one shot, where you'll have the opportunity to establish this, you support this priority, you don't support that priority, however council sees fit. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, that quite frankly, the reason this one got the advancement was because we heard loud and clear from council, roads are a priority.
Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm just a little bit, I'm not confused, but I'm wondering why we didn't get the road study plan first and then this second, like you put the cart ahead of the horse, I would think. I mean, I would have really have loved to read that roads study plan that we've been waiting for quite some time. So and then having said that, I'm thinking that no, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking of right now, but you could answer that. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. The roads needs study does not have any effect on our operating. And frankly, all it does is, I mean, it actually helps reduce the burden on our operating because it will have better quality roads. But again, when I talked about sort of the capital budget and the operating budget, what we're dealing with here today is the operating budget. The roads needs study reflects a multi-year look ahead for capital funding to not maintain, but to repair and replace the road assets. So as I mentioned, we're targeting having the consultant here at our next meeting to present the findings of the roads needs study. That will help inform the capital budget. What we're presenting here today is how we maintain the roadway infrastructure going forward with respect to day-to-day operations.
Thank you. I'm going to call a vote, but I do want to point out that all of the percentages on tax impact that you were requesting are on page 82 of your package, including the what a 1% tax increase is 144 or 143, depending on how you round. So those numbers were all included in today's council package. So we have a motion on the table.
Actually, motion on the table is to defer. It was moved by Councillor Getty and seconded by Councillor Brzezinski. So first we have to defer with motion to defer.
Okay, so yes, last comment.
Thank you. I'm not trying to be difficult, and I want these positions included in the draft budget that comes to council. But I have put the deferral forward. If the deferral is, and I've put a secondary motion to ensure that they are included. I would like it to vote on the deferral. If there is not a majority that agree to defer it, then I will withdraw the motion to have the second motion that I put forward. If the deferral is approved, then I would like to put a second motion forward to ensure and show support for these positions coming to us in the draft budget process. Thank you.
Okay, so we vote first on the deferral?
Correct.
Okay, and I'd like a recorded vote, please. Oh, sorry.
It's deferred now.
Craig, your mic is off.
Apologies. So the motion is deferred. Council should put something on their deferral, whether it be a timing or the budget or whatever. So staff know exactly when to bring it back.
Okay. By deferring, we are sending a very strong message to staff that we don't want to stick to the process we approved in August for the entire budget process. That is the message we are sending to staff, that we approved a process and we no longer agree with it. So you want it deferred to November?
Your worship, I think what I heard was a deferral until the budget's presented in November.
Okay. Do you want the date of the meeting? It's a very strong message to staff that we no longer support the process we approved.
So deferred to draft budget presentation.
Yep.
Okay, so the two initials in that. Yeah. And then you go to-
And you have to write out a new motion. But I'm going to change the grammar here. This is not correct. Motion that all costs and fees associated for service level changes presented for public works be included in the complete draft budget and to be presented to council for the year 2024. Needs a date, doesn't it? Because we're totally changing the process.
We go with the other one that's deferred. I hate to put an exact date in case something happens and it's one meeting one way or the other. For the draft budget presentation, but.
Because we've totally
Councilor Getty, given it's your motion, would you be comfortable with at the end of that, that it complete draft budget be presented to council for the year 2024 at the November 20th meeting of council? Okay.
A motion that all costs and fees associated for service level changes presented for the public works be included in the complete draft budget to be presented to council for the year 2024 at the November 20th, 2024 council meeting. Can I have a motion? And so seconder? All in favor? Yeah. Terry, where you're got a conflict. Sorry. I have a motion that bylaw number 2023-104 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Jamie Schmaltz related to an agreement under section 51 bracket 26 of the Planning Act, RSO, as amended, file number ARG-2023-0003-H is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion to this effect? And a seconder? All in favor? So that is carried. You can come back, Counselor. Oh, it's cooler down there. In many ways. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2023-105 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Lynn and Gregory Varga related to an agreement under section 51 bracket 26 of the Planning Act, RSO, as amended, file number ARG-2023-0004-C is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion to this effect? Agreement under section 51 bracket 26 of the Planning Act, RSO. You're the seconder. Amended. File number ARG-2023-0003-H. Mr. and Mrs. Varga, could you turn off your YouTube and then turn your cameras on, please?
Correct. Seconder.
Hello.
All in favor?
Sorry. We're hearing the recording that you're hearing. So if you turn off your YouTube and just use your Zoom.
Oh, it's cooler down there. In many ways.
Mr. Varga, would you like to?
Bylaw number 2023.
What do I do?
Not much we can do if he doesn't understand.
Lauren, can you maybe speak to this and tell us a little bit about this?
Thank you, Your Worship. I certainly can. The owners, Lynn and Greg Varga, who are here, I believe, just to answer any questions if council has any. They had previously applied for a severance to create one new lot and received council's provisional approval, subject to the condition that the owners enter into an agreement with the township to implement the recommendations contained within the submitted site evaluation report. The passing of the proposed bylaw will just allow for the agreement to be executed and for the condition of consent to be satisfied.
Mr. Varga, do you wish to add anything to Lauren's report?
No, we're good with that. Lynn and I are just available should there be any questions.
Does council have any questions on this issue? No. We have a motion on the table. All in favor? And that is carried. So
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay. Do I have to read it all?
Therefore, it's probably sufficient where that starts at the bottom.
Okay, I have a motion on the table, which is fairly long, and it relates to the Rogers Communication Inc. proposal to erect the 35-meter high monopole type tower that we discussed a couple of meetings ago. And I won't read all the whereases, but now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby acknowledge the township is satisfied with Rogers consultation process B, the proposed design and location is acceptable to the township, subject to the proponent entering into a municipal access agreement. And C, the township has been consulted and concurs with the tower location. Could I have a motion to this effect? And seconded by Mary Brzezinski. Are there, Forrest, is there anything to add to this? It's been in the works for a long time. Is it Brady? Brady, maybe? It's been in the works for a long time. Does council
Yes.
have any questions for Brady? Nope. All in favor? Thank you, and that's carried. And we move on to the report on the Alsasser Road subdivision. Is this Phil or Tom? And Tom, it's pretty clear in the package. I had the pleasure of working with the elder for these names, and I saw her again on Saturday, and she was wondering what we were up to. So she'll be glad to see this. Does anybody have any questions for our Director of Public Works on the naming of the two new roads? Nope. So you have council direction to go with Standing People Road and Amick Road, and Lila would like to do a tree ceremony when the subdivision is finished to bless all the maple trees. So we have a next step on this one. We have, most of the next ones are really, the next one is the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, responding to the housing affordability task force, sorry. And we met this morning with Director Elgie to begin drafting a response to that. Although many of the recommendations have almost nothing to do with rural. So it's a challenge. And then we have a request to endorse the request for funding from FONOM for the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. Yes.
Just in regards to the affordability task force, I've gone through it and I have some that I've identified. Would you like them just sent to Director
Taylor,
LG?
yes, please.
Okay, thank
And
you.
there's only room for 5. So I have a motion. Whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin recognizes the urgent need for physicians in Northern Ontario, as it is experiencing a shortage of trained physicians and specialist physicians. And whereas life expectancy of Northern residents is more than 2 years lower than the Ontario average, and mental health and addictions are at a 4 times higher rate. And whereas 1 in 8 Northern residents does not have access to a family doctor, and many must travel long distances to access healthcare services, representing the failure of healthcare in Northern Ontario. And whereas communities in Northern Ontario require access to equitable healthcare, especially underserved rural, Indigenous, and Francophone communities. And whereas in April of 2022, the government announced an unprecedented medical expansion for Northern Ontario School of Medicine University's medical programs. And whereas the current base funding rates for NOSM have not been increased sufficiently to accommodate growth and expansion. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin strongly requests the provincial government grant the Northern Ontario School of Medicine University's request for a permanent increase in annual base funding by $4 million before the end of the fiscal year, so it can continue to deliver on the mandate that the Conservative government initially established in response to the needs of the Northern municipalities. And the last is really a list of all the ministers and people it's going to go to. Could I have a motion to this effect? And seconded? All in favor? It's carried. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2023-110, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2023-054, being a bylaw to establish the Township of Seguin Business Association and adopt terms of reference for the association, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion to that effect? It's Adams. And seconded. And I will speak briefly to this. Both Ted and I sit on this association. And I will say they've got a busy agenda. I just looked at the agenda for this Thursday morning. We're going to be there for a long time. But we came to our attention that several of our key industries were not represented at the committee, specifically marinas, manufacturing, and real estate. And they are big drivers of jobs and economy in the area. So in order to get people, we needed to increase the complement of people on the committee to 9. And that's basically what you're approving here. And we have approached 3 individuals who've agreed to sit on the committee if the terms of reference is expanded to 9. So that's what we're asking for from the 6. All in favor? Oh, and this, I'm sorry, this is the second part of that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby appoint the following individuals to the Township of Seguin Business Association Committee. Mike McMillan, representing Sergeant Cement, Darren O'Brien, representing real estate, and Neil Ornella, representing marinas. Could I have a motion to that effect? Ted. And a seconder? All in favor? Thank you. That the Council of the Corporation of Seguin does hereby authorize the following members of council to attend the Rural and 2024 Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference being held January 21st to 23rd at 2024 at the Sheraton Centre Toronto Hotel in Toronto. Reimbursement of expenses will be as per township policy. And I see we already have one name motion to put this on the table. Is there a seconder? And who would like to attend? Councillor Bazinski. Okay. January 21 to 23rd. It's Roma. Okay. I have his name. Yeah, so I add, yeah. All in favor of Councillor Bazinski and Councillor Adams going? Thank you. Okay, council reports. Let's start at Ward 1. Right, I'm sorry, we do have an addendum and Councillor Bazinski will speak to that.
Yes, I'm an avid reader of our local e-news, and in there, the mayor of Perry Sound had indicated that council had approved the local governance and shared services study by a provincial level facilitator. And we've already nixed the government part of it. But I was looking at what we have for shared services, and Seguin has a lot of shared services right now. You know, you look, we've got a
GIS network, we've got Belvedere Heights, we're on various committees and talking with Forrest, he was explaining a number of things in terms of shared services that I wasn't even aware we did, and it's very beneficial. So I'm very much in favor of shared services. However, I don't think we need a provincial level facilitator to do this. I think we've been doing it for a number of years locally, and I think Seguin and Perry Sound and other municipalities, we've been working well together. So I'd like to move that Seguin Township does not support a shared services study to be undertaken by the province or any other entity.
Councillor Bazinski, I believe we passed that 2 meetings ago.
No, we were talking just about the governance. It didn't include shared services. And at that point, you said you'd like it to go back to staff to have a review. So
We did pass both of it, and at that point, Chief Administrative Officer Inwood said he would come back, but if council would like him not to come back on that, he needs direction from council. Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. I read the resolution that Mayor McGarvey has put forward to his council. I guess it was passed at September 5th. So, I mean, we've already stated that we didn't want to be part of any kind of request to the provincial government for shared services agreement. That's fairly evident because I think that's what sort of drove this resolution, but Perry Sound would still feels that it's of a benefit and is asking the province to consider it. So, I mean, you know, I'm not really sure what you guys want to do. You didn't want to be included in it, you know, this council decided we didn't want to be included in that. I mean, what they asked the province is their business. I mean, it's not our business. We've already said we don't want anything to do with you guys. So you kind of make up your mind, but I mean, to me, it's I mean, they're going to do what they want to do. Not going to ask us. We already told the province we don't see any benefit in you appointing someone to look at shared services. And Perry Sound, obviously, I think McDougall's taken the same position that we have. I think the Archipelago's taken the same position that we have. I think maybe some of the other municipalities, McKellar, I think, has as well. So, I mean, the provinces, I would assume, is going to look at that and say, well, the only one that really wants this is Perry Sound. So, I think we've stated our, you know, we made our statement. You know, we don't want to be part of it. So if they're able to facilitate that, then we're going to have to sit on the sidelines.
Councillor
Pretty
Getty.
simple.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think if I remember back to the resolution was that Seguin Township was against amalgamation. The motion that was tabled and then withdrawn was not voted on. That dealt with all of the issues contained, which was a mirror of what the Perry Sound motion was. So by withdrawing that motion, we did not preclude ourselves from all of those other issues. So the motion that was voted on was strictly in regards to we are not interested in amalgamation. That still may very well put us subject to ongoing participation. Our motion was on earlier. There was all of the other municipalities in West Perry Sound District, from what I can see, have opted out and do not want to participate, but they were provided the opportunity to withdraw and vote against the total motion. We as a council were not, and we need a 2/3 majority to bring that back to council. It's not a simple majority that would bring it back to council. So I think we as a council have a responsibility to clear up any of the confusion. I agree with you, Councillor Fellner, that the message was such, but the only issue that was voted on that date was amalgamation, not all of the other clauses within the resolution that was withdrawn and then mirrored in Perry Sounds on the 16th of September. Thank you.
Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, actually, Councillor Getty is quite right. We dealt about the share, about the amalgamation only, and Mayor, your worship, you had mentioned that you wanted to send it back to staff for a report, but we haven't seen a report. So I think I'd like to just move this forward, just so it's clear, because in the North Star, they said all the other townships had reneged on the shared services and the amalgamation, but Seguin only was on the amalgamation and shared services had been deferred. That was reported in the news. So that's why I have put forward that motion.
Just to clarify, the motion was entirely withdrawn. That's in the minutes. Okay, so there's a motion on the table now from Councillor Bazinski that Seguin Township does not support a shared services study to be undertaken by the province or any other entity. Would mean that I just want to clarify, if the province did do a shared services study and we were not at the table, that would be a huge risk. So we don't need to support. I think we've said we wouldn't be there, but somebody could do it to us, and that we need a seconder for this. So Getty. Okay. Discussion. Councillor Finson.
I'm not sure why we would vote against shared services. If they decide to do a study at the provincial level, you will have nothing to say about it. They will do their study regardless of what you say. And I think we already share services. So to say that we're voting against sharing services seems ridiculous to me. I don't understand what the problem is. Perry Sound is doing something. It's got nothing to do with us. If the study comes down from the province, it comes from the province, not from us.
Thank you. Councillor Bazinski.
Just to clarify, I don't think any of us in this room are against shared services. I think we want them on our own terms, not on somebody else's terms. The province has already said that they would not cause amalgamation to happen to any municipality that was not willing. And I want to strongly emphasize that we are not willing to have amalgamation. And this is another way to show that. And I don't think there's anything, if you talk to staff here like Forrest, he's really on the ball in terms of what we can do for shared services. And we're seeing benefits, but the benefits have to be on our own terms. Otherwise, we may as well be amalgamated, because that's what the agenda is with shared services and local government review, or simpler form of government. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. No, it's the shared services and governance with a third party. That's what was not on the resolution or the motion that you brought forward to council. It was just that we are not in favor, or we are not in favor of amalgamation, but it did not specify. So what you are doing is crossing your T's and dotting your I's for shared services and governance. So let's vote.
Yeah, we'll vote. I do point out that the minister that said there would be no forced amalgamation is no longer the minister. So that is incredibly important. So let's call a recorded vote on this. Oh,
Because I'm all confused by now. Yeah.
the vote yay would be that we would not participate in any study done by anybody. And a vote nay would be
So
that we would, is that correct?
just read the motion again, please, Mayor.
Let's see, motion that Seguin Township does not support a shared services study to be undertaken by the province or any other entity.
With any other entity,
No,
because we don't want, it's with any other entity, right?
well, I point out, for instance, at the district meeting, we had a big presentation on Blue Box. And everybody was talking about how the heck are we going to do it in rural, the provider responsibility. How the heck are we going to do it in rural Ontario? There's not going to be a Walmart picking up tin cans like there is going to be in Toronto. So that's a potential shared service. So is the incinerator that Archipelago is looking at. So none of those things can we do alone. So it's not with necessarily, it's basically this says no, never will there be a consultant helping us do this or a third party. So a yay means
So the Seguin Township does not support it. So a yay means that you're not supporting shared services study to be undertaken by the province or any other entity.
no, that's not in there. We did that 2 meetings ago.
Councillor Collins,
Yay.
Councillor Adams, Councillor Getty,
Yay.
Councillor Buzinski,
Yay.
Councillor Finson, Councillor Fellner, Mayor McDermott,
Nay. So it was defeated. So it's carried that we will never have any shared services done by a consultant or anybody else. And that would include the garbage and what Archipelago is working on now. Have a consultant working on it now, so. Back to council reports. Councillor Adams.
Yes, I attended the same meeting in Dunchurch. It was a great one. Very interesting topics on the agenda. On the 23rd, Kim Evans and I made ourselves available for constituents in Ward 1 and Ward 2. Sorry, that was on the 23rd, and the Municipal Association was on the 29th. And on the 22nd, I attended the Scotia Watershed Council meeting.
Councillor Getty.
Thank you. I've had a quiet couple of weeks. The only meeting I had was on the 21st at a library board meeting. A number of calls, a number of issues, but working them out with constituents. Thank you.
Councillor Fellner.
I as well had a quiet 2 weeks. We're just working on a few committee projects, but nothing formal, no formal meetings. So no calls. It was my 2 weeks.
Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I attended the District of Perry South Municipal Association meeting in Whitestone with yourself, Mayor, with Councillor Brzezinski and Councillor Adams. Just to highlight some of the interesting subject matters that was talked about. Luke Barker, who I've never met before, didn't know nothing about, but he's the Director of Commercial Projects, Infrastructure Ontario provided an overview of the Accelerated High-Speed Internet Program. And he gave us I think a website, Ontario, Ontario, not works, but Ontario connects.ca.
It's Ontario Connect.
Yeah, OntarioConnects.ca, that if you want to know when your home or cottage is going to be wired up with fiber, all you got to do is go on that site and they'll give you a time and month, which I thought was pretty good. We also, Dr. Carol Zimbaldi. She is now, she is the acting medical officer of health for our area and North Bay. And she provided the group with updates from the health unit. And this season, we're looking at 3 different viruses and the vaccinations, the serum is coming out in 2 weeks' time. So if you're over 60, I'd recommend you get a vaccination because I guess, 2 of them. Yep. And basically they were the 2. Oh, I've got to mention Jamie Robinson, right? Jamie Robinson and Kathy Saget, registered professional planners with MHBC. We know who he is. He's helped us tremendously in the past, clearing up some planning projects. And they were the main speakers, providing the group with an overview of licensing and enforcement of short-term rentals, citing examples from other municipalities. Questions were taken and at the end of the presentation. So there was 3 interesting speakers. And I suggest that in the spring that we also attend the meeting that's going to be on the east side, but we've already committed, our mayor has already committed to host the fall meeting. So that was talked about as well. And that's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Finson?
I had to a Belvedere Heights meeting. There was a finance and a management meeting. It went pretty well, and I'm now officially on the board. I also had a few Pumpkin Fest meetings. We've wrapped everything, kind of tightened everything up. We have another meeting tonight after this. And my nephew is bringing his food truck to the Pumpkin Festival, so I'm hoping that goes well. I went to Rosso Village Music and attended the night there. It was lovely. The sound was magnificent. I mean, he had the sound perfect in a small space with 40 people. It was really, really good. There's another one on the 21st of October. If anybody's interested, it's online. And other than that, just speaking with a few residents, and that was my 2 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you. So I'll go over where I've been. September 20th, I was participated in the Northern Ontario Women's Caucus, which is a fantastic organization of women in Northern and rural Ontario, and they bring up all kinds of issues about the FIRs and various struggles they're having, many similar to us in terms of infrastructure funding. That same day, the 20th, attended the pool fundraising committee, and it's getting very busy. December 17th is the community concert at the Stocky Center, which is for the community, in the community, by the community. There will be a polar bear swim at the Rosso Beach on January 1st. And I got the first guy signed up on Saturday from the OPP. He was in swimming on Monday. Or on Saturday in the bay. And so I kind of looked at him and said, "Oh, are you interested in swimming on New Year's Day?" And he said, "Sure." Then on March 30th, together with the Rotary, the Maple Leaf hockey team alumni will be playing in Parry Sound And it's also celebrating the 100th anniversary of Perry Sound Hockey. The pool will be half the recipient of the funds. And in August, there's a whole group planning an outdoor concert called Carling Rocks. It'll be held in a field in Carling. They've got performers, including Tom Cochran, I believe, and transportation to and from the various settlement areas. September 22nd, I attended the Business Excellence Awards, which are hosted by the Perry Sound Area Chamber of Commerce. And I think it's worth pointing out the 3 top winners were the Drop in Perry Sound, which is the teen drop-in center. The Business of the Year Award went to Perry Sound Youth Counseling, which is social work and for youth. And the People's Choice Award went to the Perry Sound Forest School. And I think it says an awful lot about the needs in our community, that those are the 3 most endorsed businesses in our community. They're all related to youth and caring for our youth. I also attended the first concert of the Rosso Village Music. It's a new business. I think it's going to be regular. So I applaud Dale Enerson for getting it off the ground. 28th, I attended the staff and council golf tournament, which was well attended, and all levels of golfers, believe me. The 29th at the district meeting in Dunchurch, and just a couple of the things that, Ted highlighted the key things, but one of the things that you will probably be interested in is Carol Zimbalati indicated that our health unit is moving to over the Shoppers Drug Mart in Perry Sound. They won't be in the mall anymore. The other presentation that was really good and raised an awful lot of questions was what's going to happen with producer responsibility in the Blue Box program. Nobody really understands except what we can and can't pick up and from whom is changing by the regulation of Ontario. And truly, they're anticipating people like Walmart, Pepsi, and Coke, and all those companies will be picking up at curbside in urban areas, but not in rural areas. So it's a dog's breakfast. Let's just put it that way. And then on September 30th, on Saturday, I was at Wasauksing for a luncheon to mark the Truth and Reconciliation Day, and it was well attended. And again, it was pretty solemn. It wasn't really a celebration, but let's say there were an awful lot of orange shirts. Jason.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Couple just quick updates. Township staff gathered Friday morning here just outside to recognize the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And we also unveiled a new crosswalk just down the street on Humphrey Drive. I'd encourage everybody to go have a look. The crosswalk features a design which was inspired by submissions to a youth art contest in Wasauksing First Nation, representing a traditional offering ceremony. You can see a second design on McKeag Road as well as one on Perry Island in Wasauksing First Nation.
And that one's right opposite the Gathering Center. I saw it. Yeah,
that's
there were
correct.
kids on it on Saturday.
And another 2 designs will be stenciled in the spring. So this was a collaborative project between Wasauksing First Nation Public Works and Seguin Township Public Works, and a great success story. As many of you are aware, over the last few months, ERA Architects has been soliciting public feedback on how best to restore the Rosso Memorial Hall. The team presented a summary of their engagement findings and design recommendations on Friday at the Rosso Memorial Hall. The presentation will be available on Let's Connect Seguin project page in the coming days for all to view. The township is also hosting its annual seniors lunch in Orville tomorrow. This celebration is in honor of National Seniors Day. RSVPs are required, so please see our website for details if you'd like to jump in last moment. Seguin Public Libraries is offering a new selection of seasonal programming, including a Halloween themed escape room. Coffee and Conversation in Rosso is also coming back this month. The township is sponsoring the annual Rosso Pumpkin Festival this Saturday from 10 till 3 p.m. on Victoria Street. This is a rain or shine event with lots of free family fun. And just a heads up for council members in the community that The first draft of the strategic plan will be coming to council and the public in the very, very near future. So we just need a few days to tidy up some loose ends, and we'll try and get a copy out to everybody for initial comment in the coming days. I don't want to overcommit, might be a week, but give us a bit of time. We're working through those details. Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, and I forgot about the Friday night at the community center. It was packed. It was a potluck dinner and their concept drawings. It doesn't mean this is what we're building, but it's some ideas about how to phase the entire restoration of the Memorial Hall. So I encourage you to look. They had very good community input leading into it. So we have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and correspondence as presented in the agenda for the October 2nd, 2023 meeting of council. Could I have a motion? All in favor? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proceed to a closed meeting at 4:05 PM in order to address matters pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality. And that relates to maintenance of Badger Road and Seguin Place update. And advice that is subject to the solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose related to the same two items. Could I have a motion to that effect? All in favor? Okay. Motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 4:49 PM. A motion? All in favor? You never vote against these ones. Motion that bylaw number 2023-109, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion? All in favor? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council at 4:49 PM to meet again on Monday, October 16th, or at the call of the mayor. Motion again, Ken, Greg. All in favor? Everybody have a good, safe, and happy Thanksgiving.